නමෝ තස්ස භගවතෝ අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස උරගෝව තචං චින්නං හිත්වා ගච්ඡති සන්තනුං එවං ශරීරේ නිම්භෝගේ පේතේ කාල කතේ සති දයමානෝන ජානාති ඥාතිනං පරිදේවිතං තස්මා ඒතං නසෝචාමි ගතෝ සෝතස්ස යාගති අනෝහිතෝ තතෝ ආග අනනුඤ්ඤාතෝ ඊතෝ ගතෝ යතගතෝ තථාගතෝ තත්තකා පරිදේවනා. Good day to all of you. Are you grieving or lamenting for your lost loved one? You know how deeply painful it is when you lost your loved one. Your heart feels an unbearable sadness when you are remembering your lost loved one. They may be your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your son, your wife, your friends, or your relatives. If so, how do you control your painful thoughts? How do you control your emotions? How do you control your feelings? Although it is very difficult, you have to control your painful emotions, your feelings. Therefore, you have to understand the real nature of the life. By listening to this sermon, you will be able to make up your mind. You will be able to balance your painful emotions. I would like to explain how to control your painful emotions or thoughts or feelings using a Jataka story. For that, I will choose as sources the 550 Jataka storybook and Jataka Pali, which is included in the Kuddaka Nikaya. The name of the Jataka story is Uraga Jatakaya. Uraga means snake. The blessed one, residing at Jetavanarama monastery, told this story concerning a householder whose son has died. The household had only one son. He was died. That is why this household is sad. The blessed one, having got up early in the morning, went to the householder's house with the newly ordained monks. Having gone there, the Buddha asked the householder, "Are you grieving, sir?" The Brahmin holder replied, "Yes, Venerable sir. Ever since my son's death, I have been feeling with sadness." So, Reverend Sir, I cannot control my painful emotions. I cannot balance my thoughts. The Buddha, after listening to householder, share his wisdom with the Brahmana. These explanations are very essential for you who are grieving. How do you control your painful emotions that are connected with your lost loved ones? Let me explain it and think about little deeper. While it is natural to feel sadness, there is peace in accepting the real nature of life. All the things in the world is temporary. What is born must die. What is created must eventually destroy it. You think little deeper. This happens not just to you, one person or one family, but to all living beings in the world, in the entire universe. No, there is any living creature that can escape from death. No, there is any existing things that is capable of abiding in the same condition. All living beings are subject to death, and all compounds things are subject to dissolution, and death also a natural part of the life. The Blessed One presents a story from the past to further explain the impermanence nature of life. Through this story, you can gain a deep understanding of the impermanence of life that can help you to manage your painful emotions and to make up your mind. In the past, wise people who lost their child understood this truth. They did not allow their grief to control them. In the past, the king Brahmadatta was ruling in the Benares. The Bodhisattva was born as a Brahmin householder in a Brahmin family. There were 6 members in their family: the Bodhisattva, his wife, his son, his daughter, daughter-in-law, and a female slave. They lived happily and affectionately together. Bodhisattva teaches family the certainty of death and uncertainty of life. He reminds them to live in a mindful way by doing good deeds, giving others, and living in a moral way. By doing this, they can prepare for the death, knowing that life is fragile and nothing lasts forever. This idea to live on the thought of death is a mean to fear. But to encourage them to live in a way that mindful and meaningful. Death isn't something to fear, but something that everyone faces. It is a part of life and nobody can avoid. All things are transitory and subject to decay. Everything in life, your body, your relatives, your wife, your son, your daughter, your wealth, is temporary. Those who understand this truth, they don't get too attached to anything or anyone in the world, but instead of that, they live in a right way, that is wise and compassionate. The Bodhisattva emphasizes the importance of living according to the moral values. By giving alms or serving holidays, living with kindness and respect, practicing moral living, his family not only improve their own well-beings but also helps others. They begin to think that true happiness doesn't come from what they have, and the real happiness comes from how they treat others and how they live with their deepest values. One day, the Bodhisattva went with his son to pluck his field. While they were working together, the son of Bodhisattva gathered some rubbish together and set fire to it. Nearby, there was a snake in an anthill. The smoke hurt the snake's eyes. The snake got angry, came out from its hole and bit the son. The youth fell down dead. Having seen this incident by the Bodhisattva, ran towards his son. He understood that the son had died, but instead of crying or mourning loudly, he carefully took his son's body and laid down under a tree. He covered his body with a cloth, but he didn't weep or lament. In this part of the story, we see how Bodhisattva responds to the sudden death of his son. This moment shows the Bodhisattva's great wisdom and composure in the face of loss. Unlike most people who might be overwhelmed with grief, the Bodhisattva does not let his emotion take control. Instead, he stays calm, accepting the loss with peacefulness and wisdom. He understands that death is a natural part of life, and that which is subject to dissolution is dissolved, and that which is subject to death is dead. All compound existences are transitory and liable to death. He is able to act in a composed manner even in such a tragic moment. So you also try to understand that death is a natural course of life. Death is inevitable, that comes every person its own time. The Bodhisattva, seeing a neighbor pass close by the field, asks, "Friend, are you going home?" He replied, "Yes." "Please then to go to our house and say to the mistress, 'You are not today as fondly to bring foods for two, but to bring it one only. And hitherto the female slave alone has brought the food, but today all four of you are to put on clear garments and to come with perfumes and flowers in your hands.'" The Bodhisattva's action also teach us about how to handle loss, acknowledging the sacredness, but also continuing to live with purpose and grace. Still we can honor those who have passed in meaningful ways. When the Bodhisattva's wife received the message, she followed the instructions given by the Bodhisattva carefully. Then they went to the place where the Bodhisattva had laid their son's body under the tree. The Bodhisattva asked them to offer flowers, perfume and incense to their son's body, symbolizing respect and remembrance, not sorrow. He emphasized that it is very important to live with gratitude and understanding in the face of loss, rather than consumed by grief. They offer flowers and incense to their son's body and then set fire to the fireplace. Throughout the entire process, not a single tear was shed. No one spoke of lamentation. All of them were focused on the thought of death and reflecting on the transitory nature of life. This part of the story emphasizes mental discipline and self-control in the faces of loss, despite the deep emotional pain that must have been presented. The family maintain their composure and they perform funeral rites in dignity and grace. The absence of outward grief doesn't mean that they did not feel sadness. It means they accepted the inevitable and understood the impermanence nature of life. This part also teaches us about strength in acceptance. It shows even when facing the loss of a loved one, there is a way to honor them without being overtaken by grief. Let's get back to the story. Meanwhile, the throne of the Saka began to feel hot. The Saka, the king of gods, realized that it was due to the immense virtue of Bodhisattva and his family. The Saka appeared in front of them and asked, "What are you doing?" The Bodhisattva calmly replied that we are burning the body of a man. Then the Saka said, "It is no man you are burning. I think you are roasting the flesh of beasts that you have slain." The Bodhisattva and his family calmly respond, "It is merely the body of a man that we are burning." Then Saka questioned further, "It must have been some enemy." Then Bodhisattva calmly respond, "Not so. It is merely our own true son, not enemy." Saka asked, "Why then don't you weep?" The Bodhisattva said that life is temporary. We come into the world and we leave it. Just as a snake sheds its skin when it becomes too worn out. My son had left his mortal body when his time had come. The Bodhisattva's words also remind us that lamentation and grief are not going to change the reality of death. He acknowledged that his son was dear to him, yet he does not grieve because he understands that death is a part of the journey. He realized that attachment to life and death can create suffering, while acceptance can bring peace. So, we can understand that grief comes from attachment and true peace comes from understanding and accepting that all things in life, including our bodies and those we love, are temporary. By living with awareness, we can approach death with greater equanimity and wisdom. Saka, on hearing the words of Bodhisattva, asked the Brahmin wife, "How, lady, did the dead man stand to you?" Then the Brahmin wife replied, saying that, "I sheltered him 10 months in my womb and suckled him at my breast and directed the movements of his hand and feet, and he was grown up, my son." Saka, having heard this, wondered how a mother could remain so peaceful way in the face of such a profound loss. He questioned that, "Father, is a man in nature may not weep? A mother's heart is merely tender. Then why don't you weep?" To explain why she did not weep, she said that, "Uncle, he had came unbidden soon to go. Even as he came, he went. What goes here to woo? Why should I grieve?" In essence, the Brahmin wife teaches us that the pain of loss is not the result of love itself, but our attachment to the temporary nature of life. When we understand that death is not end and it is a natural part of the circle of life, we can live or we can move beyond grief and live with a sense of peace and wisdom. Saka, on hearing the words of Brahmana's wife, asked the sister, "Lady, what was the dead man to you?" "He was my brother." "Lady, sisters surely are loving towards their brothers. So, why don't you weep?" She, to explain the reason why she did not weep, said that though I should fast or weep, how would it profit me? My kith and kin, alas, would more unhappy be. The sister's words carry a profound message. She reflects on the futility of grief in the face of death. Fasting and weeping would not bring her brother back or ease his journey. In fact, her sorrow would only add to the suffering of those around her. Grief, when held on to for long, can sometimes create painful just not only ourselves but others as well. On hearing the words of sister, Saka asked his wife, "What was he to you?" She said, "He was my husband." Saka said again, "Women surely, when their husbands dies, as widows are helpless. So why don't you weep?" She, to explain the reason why she did not weep, said, "Just as a child in vain trying to grab the moon in the sky. People grieve helplessly over their lost loved ones. The words of the wife offer a deep insight into the nature of grief. She compares mourning to children crying in vain to reach the moon. Death is inevitable, just as the moon cannot be touched or controlled. Saka, on hearing the words of wife, asked the handmaid woman, "How was he to you?" She said that he was my master. Saka said, "No doubt you must have been abused, beaten, and oppressed by him. That is why you are not weeping." Then handmaid said that nothing so. He was a foster child to me. The handmaid compares mourning the dead to repair a broken pot. Just as a broken pot cannot be fixed. This illustrates the impermanence nature of life. When something is lost, that cannot be restored its previous state. Finally, Saka admonished them and filled their house with wealth and departed from them. After hearing this teaching, the landowner who had been grieving attained the first stage of enlightenment known as Sotapanna. This teaching shows us that understanding the impermanence of life and accepting the death as a part of nature, that can be lead to the spiritual progress. I think that you will be able to control or balance your painful emotional thoughts through listening to my sermon. May the triple gem bless you.